Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the nerdiest competition ever created by the Language of Bromance team. In this corner, obsessed with Star Wars and anything with swords, Richard! And in this corner, obsessed with the Ninja Turtles and scared of anything from the ocean, Shawn! Brought to you as a Pod Bros exclusive in association with the LOB Army. Tonight's competition is a Language of Bromance Draft.
Shawn, I did a stupid thing.
What'd you do, Richard?
So, in the course of, in the course of our recording history, there has rarely been a time that something screws up on a technical front.
We've gone 70, almost 78 episodes without anything messing up. We've been pretty good about this.
Right, but according to the law of averages, apparently our day was due, and that day came today. So we lost a chunk of one of our, it's a draft episode. That shit's our bread and butter.
That's the thing, man. So
that's the thing.
So we did our 78th draft. We're doing the reboot movie draft, and we got it kicked off. And Richard, we did our intros we normally do, My name's Richard. I'm Shawn. Speaking the language of bromance.
Yeah, and I'm Richard, and we both hate each other. I mean, we just hate each other for this week, and everything was all going fine. And then disaster.
But so we got most of it. The only thing we missed is probably the first half of Richard talking about his first pick. And so for the movie reboot draft, Richard, your first pick was?
My first pick. For when it comes to a movie reboot, you had to go with The Crow.
And that totally stole one from me. And I think we had a few discussions of basically how much we love that movie. And
yeah, this was your number. This was going to be your number one.
Yeah, I was going to pick this was my number one. And I thought you were going to be pissed that I picked this one, but you jumped right in and took it. So
yeah, hoisted you on your petard. You are now petarded.
But so yeah, we only missed a little bit of it, but we'll kick you right into us discussing the number one pick for Richard, The Crow. Sorry about the little technical difficulty. It's the first time it's happened, so hopefully it'll be very far and few between. Maybe episode, I don't know, I can't do the math right now. What, 158,
164, 154,
154. Maybe 154 will be a little messed up. I don't know.
Maybe.
All right, well, Enjoy our movie reboot draft.
We do drafts. We aren't good at the maths. Do a completely different guy, a completely different story coming from a completely different place, and you can still use all of that other shit because it's almost like an anthology kind of setup.
Yeah, he's always doing like 6-shot shorts for comics, so 6-issue runs. And one of and that's what you're talking about. I mean, these are, very independent movies you can make, and they just, okay, well, that movie wasn't the greatest. Okay, well, I have another great idea for this this Crow thing. And the first one I got into, the comic series, it was about a guy who moved to Japan, fell in love with a Japanese girl. They were about to get married, and then all of a sudden she was kidnapped. And the whole idea, he gets murdered in this whole thing. And the idea is that there's this rich corporation that has figured out a way to move the soul from one person into another. So this company is like all their high-ups that are about to die. They'll kidnap somebody they want to be, and they move their soul from their body to the person they kidnapped. So essentially they live forever in a new body.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of that same idea. The guy tries to stop his girlfriend from getting kidnapped, gets murdered. gets gets taken over by the crow, and he pulls a whole revenge thing. Because there's so much supernatural stuff in that, and you can do anything you want. You told me about the Rob Zombie idea. Like he wrote a script years ago.
Yeah, the script I read that Rob Zombie wrote, he had it where it was a kid that his parents died, or I think it was his parents were killed, and he ended up losing his memory. But then, years go by, he grows up and becomes like a bounty hunter. And during the course of something, he dies, and when he dies, he comes back with, he comes back as the crow. And now he has like all this bounty hunter training and this whole fucking arsenal and all this other shit that he's gonna go kill these guys with that killed his parents, years and years ago. That's like that's Batman fucking. I mean, that's like a Batman story, but dark, but bloodier.
Well, he's a super anti-hero. Everybody loves a good revenge story. And you could get that every time. Halloween tradition for me, I always wanted to be I'd watch The Crow. I haven't done it. I don't know why, but that is a show that if it's on TV, I'm watching it. No matter where it is in that show, I'm watching it.
It depends on the channel for me.
Yeah, I guess some of it
depends on the channel for me. Like if it's on, like TNT and it's the middle of the afternoon, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
It feels watered down.
But you had the dude from Highlander in it that, makes it amazing.
Wait a minute, which dude?
Isn't the dude from Highlander in there?
Which guy? As who?
The bad guy? Yeah. Isn't that...
No.
He's not in Highlander? I thought he was. He was in one of those shows.
No. He was in, fuck, what the hell was he in? God, you're going to make me look it up. No, the guy that was in Highlander was, the only thing that's coming to mind is, Carnival. He was the bad guy in Carnival, but I don't remember what. Clancy Brown. That's the guy. Clancy Brown was the bad guy in Highlander. He was the Kurgan. Took me a second on his name, but I got it. No, what other movies has that guy been in? He was in. Yeah. I'm lost on it.
I don't remember. So yeah, sorry. I thought he was in Highlander.
Winston was in it from Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
What's his name? Ernie Hudson.
Yeah, he was the cop.
Yeah. He's like, "What, you going to disappear? You just going to fade away through the window?" And then he's like, "I thought I'd just use your door."
So do you think that? So would you want a shot-for-shot remake first to kind of get it reboot, or not really? I mean, necessarily not shot-for-shot, but pretty close. Maybe set in our time period, or would you just want like a completely different Crow idea?
Oh, I'd be fine with just taking the same story and putting it in today. Because I think that's what would make that such such ripe territory for a reboot. Because you don't really have to do much with it. Like, it's not like, oh, you need to respect the movies that came before it, or but you can still you could completely pay homage to those older movies and the television show. You can even include characters from those movies in the television show,
like aged,
and it would totally fit in. Yeah, it would totally fit in and make perfect sense. I think that's what would make it a great reboot is not only the fact that you could do it and make it cool, you could do it, make it cool, and still it's like Star Wars. It's honestly a lot like Star Wars, where it's like, hey, we're gonna make new movies, but look, all your favorite characters we can still put in these movies, and it works.
Like you said with that too, and it's Star Wars, but what they could do is they can make any kind of movie they want, because The Crow really builds around that. They want to do a war movie, because there was a 6-issue run where he talks about the Crow being in a one of the camps in Nazi Germany. You could do that. You could do a war movie. You could do a supernatural movie. You could do like a spy thriller type movie.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I mean, you could do whatever you want with it. You just have to put somebody in some type of revenge scenario.
Oh, you could have it where he's like a Nazi hunter.
Yeah. Oh, that's such. Oh, there's a part where he's the Crow. I don't. Oh, he gets himself taken to a Nazi Germany camp, and he goes in. Basically, he's killing all the Nazis. And the reason is because the person who runs this camp killed him and his wife. and so he kills all these Nazis to get to this one guy and ends up killing him. It's
Uh,
so good.
oh, that's cool. So yeah, so my first pick, I'm going with the Crow.
Totally, yeah, that was totally gonna be my first pick.
Oh, as well it should be.
Man, all right. Well, I've got one again. I think was going to be a pretty controversial pick to you. Um,
Okay.
so I haven't seen all of the originals. I've seen bits and pieces, but
Okay.
they've already tried to remake some of these. But I think the time is perfect right now to reboot this. You can do this is a franchise thing again. You could do the whole franchise starting from beginning to end, putting it in today's environment. I'm gonna go with the Romero of the Deads,
Ooh, that one. Ooh. Yeah, you're right. They did remake Dawn of the Dead.
and it was really really good. They did a lot of subsequent straight to DVD ones. So I think they did
Well, and also, they did change a few things. Well, they did Day of the Dead. They remade Day of the Dead.
and they tied it in a little bit to Dawn of the Dead. Some
Right. I think Ving Rhames was in Day of the Dead too, wasn't he?
yeah, he played like his brother or something like that, like his twin brother.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, zombies are all the craze right now. You could definitely change it up from what we're used to with like Walking Dead and that the slow zombies. You introduce fast zombies again. But instead of starting the day of, the dawn of, you go back to the Night of the Dead.
Ooh. Yeah. Oh.
I mean, it would be different. It wouldn't be the same. You could keep kind of the same
Would you?
storyline.
I was gonna say, would you kind of keep the same story? Would you go because you're going with like the night? The thing with the Romero movies is it wasn't the zombies were always a metaphor for something, and not only that, but the movies themselves work to make some sort of political statement about I mean, Night of the Living Dead was definitely a commentary on race relations in America. Night of the Living Dead was a comment on race relations. Dawn of the Dead was a comment on American materialism, American consumerism. Uh, I would say that Day of the Dead was probably a commentary on like the military industrial complex. So I mean, like, would you want it to be that, or do you just want you're like shut? I don't want to learn. Just give me zombies chewing on shit.
No, I mean you modernize it. So, you could say you could take the idea of people being stuck in their computers and their phones and we're such a connected world, but we're really so disconnected. That would be an awesome commentary you could do. You could do that with the night of because, all this stuff is happening and everybody's seeing it through their phones or their computers and they don't think it's real. You could talk about things like that.
Yeah.
The commerce I think would be another good thing to attack because I think even though malls are maybe you attack it as that the commerce has gone away from actually being malls and things and they go to a deserted mall where there isn't anything.
Oh yeah, like everything's closed.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody shops online now.
Or the housing market crash thing, you could have them go to there's tons of modern things you can make commentary on.
That's true. I mean,
Not to get super political, but you said race relations. I mean, that's something that's always something you can make commentary on.
yeah, yeah, I agree.
And zombies are all Dawn of the Dead. When I saw that was the first probably zombie movie I saw on the big screen, and I absolutely loved it. And I think you could just pick that up and you could take it as far as you want because he's still making them. I think they're mostly straight to DVDs, but for my first round pick, I'm going to say the Romero of the Dead series.
Yeah, I like it. Let's see, my number two. Okay, I'm going with. This is another 3-film series where the first movie was really, really, really good. And then they went on all these weird tangents in the second and third movies. And I actually own all 3 movies, but I think this is something that you could do something really cool with because even the first movie was I would really call it like fairly low budget, not super low, but a fairly low budget. Had a great fucking cast, had a great recurring character, and was written really smart. For my second round pick, it's a series that I would reboot. I'm going with The Prophecy.
The Prophet. Okay, I have no clue what this is.
You have no clue. Okay, so first movie was called The Prophecy. It's it's about this the movie starts with like this person that goes he just goes into his apartment, and then all of a sudden this guy jumps through his window and they have this fight, and then he throws and then one of the guys gets thrown out of the window, not the guy that walked into the apartment, and the guy gets thrown out and hit by a car and killed, and you're like, what the fuck's going on? And all this weird shit's going on. And what the real deal is that apparently that there is a second war in heaven, and that all these people are actually angels, and they're fighting over they're fighting basically over mankind. That there's some angels that believe that mankind, they're following God's orders, that mankind is the greatest of all his creations, and blah blah blah. Then there's another group of angels that are defying God's order, and they're like, why does he love these talking monkeys more than us? And that group is led by Gabriel, who was played by Christopher Walken.
And I just saw there's 3 of them. He's in all 3, right?
He is in all 3. I think he's the only character that's in all 3. So he's there as Gabriel. So he's Gabriel, and he's fighting against. He's trying to. They're fighting over control over a soul, a human soul that's going to help them tip the scales in this endless angel war. So, Christopher Walken's in it. I don't remember who plays the main human character, but Viggo Mortensen is in that movie as Lucifer.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you look at with today's technology, because that was made in '95 when I looked it up. So today's technology, this would just be a huge. Were there like big battles in this, or was it just more of one-on-one?
No, it was just, and there wasn't really any special. Actually, I think there were no special effects, none that I can think. Well, maybe one, like very low minor special effects. It's mostly just a lot of like talking and things like that.
So would you want, if they reboot this, would you want the same kind of thing, or would you want them to Hollywood the fuck out of it and make that big, like you see the battle in heaven and you see these big battles on Earth?
I don't know, maybe. I mean, look at Supernatural, because Supernatural is kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of did the same thing as Supernatural.
I think that would be pretty sweet.
I mean, I'd be down for kind of like how, you have like all these angels like in battle in the skies and shit like that, and then like that's how you would prologue it.
Yeah. Oh, that would be so awesome.
Like you would prologue it with like this epic fucking like metal music, and then do 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 do. And like all these angels are like fighting each other in the skies and shit, and there's blood everywhere. Oh, that'd be awesome.
You got wings cut off all over the place. So does Lucifer play a pretty big part in this, or is he just kind of an antagonist?
He's there kind of to give advice.
Interesting.
The one of the parts I love with Lucifer is he shows up all of a sudden. And the leading lady of the movie is standing there, and she looks and she sees who it is, and he's like, "Hello, Catherine. We need to talk." And she like immediately is like, "I know who the fuck this is."
And she
because here's the thing with all the angels. All the angels, like all they do is just they all just like wear long coats.
Uh-huh.
They all wear long black trench coats. All the angels do for some reason.
Well, because wings are expensive.
Right. So he's like perched up on this wall. He's like got his feet perched on the wall, and he's like, squatting down, and he's just kind of sitting there, and he's like picking petals off a flower. And she's like, Catherine, we need to talk. And she looks, and you just see like abject fear on her face. And she's like, I don't want to talk to you. And he's like, I could lay you out right now and fill your mouth with your mother's feces, or we can talk.
And is Catherine human? Oh,
Yes.
okay. All right, I guess we'll talk.
Let's do the second thing. And Gabriel has a human that he like. Usually, it's somebody that he brings back from the dead, not like a zombie, but somebody that's just recently died.
So Gabriel brings somebody back that's recently dead. And usually they're very like, let me die. Just please. Like, it's usually somebody that's either killed themselves or is like on the verge of death and they just want to go. And and then like sometimes they start to get emotional, and whenever they do, he's like, don't start. Don't do that. I hate that.
Just because he hates emotion, pretty much.
Yeah, he just doesn't. Yeah, because he basically sees human beings as, apes. He refers to them constantly as talking monkeys. So yeah, my second round pick, I'm going with the Prophecy series.
That seems interesting. Seems like it was a low budget kind of cult film.
I would say, yeah, definitely at the very least watch the first one. You can do without watching the second and the third one. Because the second and the third one, I mean, they're rough. They're very rough. I think the only reason I own this, the only reason I own the second and the third one is because when I bought the first one, and it just basically came with those.
A value pack kind of scenario.
Yeah, exactly. It's 3 movies, but it's on 1 DVD.
Okay, well, I can get down with that. All right, so for my second round pick, we've talked about this before. He's kind of getting a reboot now, but I really feel like he needs to be on film. He recently got back with his actual parent company, fairly recently.
Oh, I know where you're going.
Yeah, this dude just goes around, anti-hero to the best, just busting heads and killing people. Comic book is awesome, and he's back with the company that cannot screw up. Anything they touch turns to gold. I am going to go with my man, Frank Castle, the Punisher.
Oh, no, that is not where I was going.
The Thomas Jane 2002-ish, when they made that first movie, I fell in love with this character. It's another revenge type story. They created a second movie and it wasn't really that great. End up reverting the rights. He's going to be on Daredevil, but I feel like this dude needs his own movie. This is a guy who's anti-hero to the, he's the definition of an anti-hero. Goes around, kills, bad guys. The comic book series is really cool because he's like a one-man army going around busting heads.
Yeah, he's got that fucking van that's like armed to the teeth.
Tricked out, yeah. I don't know a ton of his villains. It always seems like he's kind of fighting Spider-Man's villains a lot, at least in the comic.
It's usually the Kingpin. The Kingpin's one of his big ones.
Gotcha. So, I mean, he is getting kind of rebooted right now in the Daredevil universe. So, I mean, he is getting rebooted. But I'd be excited to see him in his own feature or his own series at the least.
You know what? There's a chance you might, because he's going to be in Daredevil. You're right, but I think if he goes over as good as I think he might, I could totally see us getting a Punisher series out of his appearance in Daredevil.
I've heard rumors because they were supposed to do like a Luke Cage or a Iron Fist or something like that, and I heard that was shelved because of how well the Punisher was playing out while they were shooting. So we very well could get a Punisher series, and I am getting my Netflix back on. Because I mean, he's not a superhero, but he's a hero. And whenever you think of comic book heroes, typically they're always kind of goody two shoes almost, kind of bigger than life.
Yeah.
And this is just a normal guy who's, a Marine who was trained to kill, using that to say like, well, if the police aren't going to do anything, if nobody's going to help, Iron Man's not coming down to protect me as these drug lords come and kill my family. So I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it myself. Get my ammo, get my grenades, go around and kill all these low-level scum that the superheroes can't worry themselves with.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, he's the definition of the anti-hero. Like, whenever someone says to me the anti-hero, that is literally the first person I think of is the Punisher, because he's the guy that will go to any and all lengths to, take care of his to get his goal. He's Batman that kills people,
Yeah. And I would love to see the scene of, the Punisher or Captain America stopping and be like, oh, no, you can't kill. You can't do that. And just his conversation like, well, what the fuck are you going to do? You guys are out here
Right.
creating these robots, open up these space holes, and there's people down here with real problems. You're creating all the issues that you have to fix. I'm out there trying to solve these problems. You're fucking
Yeah.
America boy from World War II. I'm the real deal here, sir. Drops the grenade and just goes.
And then they're like, didn't you fight John Travolta at one point? That's beside the point.
This is a reboot. Didn't you catch that?
Reboot.
So yeah, for my second pick, I'm gonna go with the Punisher.
That's really not the one I was thinking of. I was thinking of somebody completely different. I thought you were going a totally different direction.
Okay, you'll have to write that down and we'll talk about it later, because maybe it's on my list.
I did. No worries. My third round pick. This is two movies that were based on a video game. Great series of games.
Super Mario Brothers?
It's the Super Mario Brothers.
All right,
you
nice
totally
pick.
got it in the first. My third round pick. There were two movies. See, you see, this is what happens when you never listen to me. No, anyway, it was a series of games, great games. They spun it into two movies, and the movies were they were okay. But I think that if you, in the world of movies like this, you could totally do a lot more with it and really, really set it off. For my third round pick, I'm going with a reboot film version of Tomb Raider.
Oh, okay.
Because I mean, come on, it's Indiana Jones, but she's a girl. How do you not just fucking knock that out of the park? Just be like, hey, let's do like an Indiana Jones movie, and we got this hot chick.
This hot badass chick doing, gunplay and all that stuff. So I guess the question I think for this, because this would be what really would sell it. Who is your Tomb Raider? Who is your Lara Croft?
Who's my Tomb Raider? See, I don't. That one's hard to do because you don't want to. Because I mean, okay, so Angelina Jolie was who you had as the last Lara Croft, and she wasn't. I would say that she wasn't. I mean, she definitely looked the part, but she. And I mean, I thought the accent was convincing because she came off with that British accent.
Ooh, I wonder. Okay, so I guess Lara Croft is British. I've never played the games or really watched the movies.
Yes.
What about it's a British actress? She is huge right now on The Walking Dead. The chick that plays Maggie, Lauren Cohen.
Maybe
She might be able to pull it off because she's got big knockers and she can handle a gun and is kind of badass in that show.
Honestly, that my first thought was Johansson, but
Scarlett Johansson? Maybe. I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it, but
well, because
I feel like it's. I mean, that kind of feels like an obvious choice because she's popular at the moment.
Well, if they rebooted it, you're going to get somebody big. So I doubt they'd cast an unknown. I don't know who owns it, so maybe they'd have to. But you're looking at a Jennifer Lawrence or a Scarlett Johansson. It's going to be somebody they want to carry a franchise.
I'll tell you that the Elizabeth Olsen wouldn't be terrible at it.
No, it wouldn't be bad. She did the Russian accent. I don't know if she could pull a British, but yeah.
Well, I mean, the Russian accent. I mean, we say Russian. I mean, I don't know. To me, that was kind of like that Euro trash accent.
Yeah.
That generic European accent that we think all Europeans have, but they really don't.
I love that of the Olsen, she's probably going to be the most famous now.
Thank God, right?
Oh, I know. It's like, well, my sisters who are twins are coked out of their minds, so I'm gonna go and do this Avengers thing and make some money.
I'm gonna go have a career and be successful at life. But yeah, how do you not knock that out of the park? Like I said, it's a fucking Indiana Jones movie.
Well,
and we're still making those.
And wasn't the issue with the first two? I just remember them being super fucking long and kind of boring. I mean, could you tighten that up?
Yeah, I mean, just the story just kind of wasn't there. And that's what that's what makes, especially that type of movie, what makes that type of movie is the fucking story.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at those games, they like delve into history and they kind of put like a tweak on it, like, oh, this ship supposedly carried some crazy artifact, but it wasn't, and we think we found the location. Like, it's a fucking like I said, it's like an Indiana Jones. It's Indiana Jones movie.
Well, yeah, you stay away from you could stay away from like the religious stuff, kind of like Indiana Jones does, but you just find some off the wall urban legend, artifact thing, like you said, and you take that story and you tell it.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Shangri-La or the fucking El Dorado, the City of Gold.
Go all over the place on that. Because was there supernatural stuff involved in that, or was it all like real life?
In
Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider?
Yeah, did she fight ghosts or anything like that? Or
I mean, I think not really. I mean, maybe at some point. I don't know. They've made quite a few games, quite a few Tomb Raider games. So I don't know if if they ever. I mean, I'm sure they probably did occasionally. I mean, with all that stuff, I'm sure there was like some sort of weird, creepy, supernatural element to some of it.
What I think you do, because I know they just came out with like a prequel game. That's what you build it off of. Because I think in the prequel, she gets stuck on an island, so that's how you get introduced to Lara Croft.
Yeah.
You get her origin story. So, because I mean, I haven't played the game. I know it's super popular, but I'm sure the world isn't as familiar with Lara Croft as a lot of gamers. So you do that prequel, and it's like you're instantly locked in. It's like, this is a badass chick. She's stuck on an island. She's fighting all these dudes, and
yeah,
I'd buy it.
And I mean, why not have another female inspiration for younger females?
Oh yeah,
that's
definitely.
Like that can be a girl and at the same time kick ass and be super smart and figure out puzzles and come on.
Yeah, that's a $1 million idea. That'd be awesome.
So yeah, there's my third round pick. I'm going with the Tomb Raider series.
I like it a lot. So my third round pick, I feel like reboots are always pretty found in like horror movies. And I think that's because horror movies give you a lot of room for error, or a lot of leeway, because they're horror movies. They're not meant to be taken seriously.
Okay.
This movie,
I buy that.
This movie was made by one of our favorite people in the world, Wes Craven. They tried to reboot it, and I didn't see the reboot, but it seemed like it fell pretty flat on its face.
I believe it did, yeah.
It's such a dark idea, and if you reboot it, I think you can make it super dark and cast this gentleman who made this character iconic, because he is creepy as hell now. For my third round pick, I'm going to go with Nightmare on Elm Street. That needs to get rebooted with our man who played Freddy Krueger back at the helm.
So you want Robert Englund as your Freddy?
Oh,
okay,
yes.
That I can get behind that.
Because they did a cool.
Okay, but here's my thing though. Like, you're gonna reboot Nightmare on Elm Street, and you don't have Wes Craven.
Yeah, I mean, that would suck. I don't even know if he had what hand he had in the old reboot. That's probably why it wasn't that great. But you find people that he would have trusted to run that. Like, you got Robert Englund in it. I think you could come up with something really, really dark and cool. Because the reboot, from what I saw in the trailers, they tried to kind of do a semi prequel where they showed what the parents killing him and whatnot. And you look at Robert Englund right now; he looks creepy. And they had some scenes from the Freddy vs. Jason where he was just...
Yeah, that's true. Where he was just himself.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus!
So, I mean, I think you could hit that out of the park. And what I didn't realize this until I was kind of doing some research on Nightmare on Elm Street. So, in the original where they all survive and then Freddy kind of jumps out at the end,
Okay.
there was like a fan theory out there that the girl was dreaming the entire time. The whole movie is her dreaming, and it's Freddy just fucking with her the whole time.
Oh.
So she thinks she dreams and wakes up, but she's still really dreaming this entire time.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, it makes that movie a little bit cooler, huh?
A little bit, yeah.
And I know, like, they failed with that. They tried to do a Friday the 13th reboot, and they kind of failed with that. And I feel, the story's there. You could do the same idea. Or, a great example of a great reboot, I think, is Halloween with Rob Zombie. The middle piece is pretty much the Halloween story, but you let him do the prequel. You let him say, like, okay, this is how our iconic character got to where they are. Obviously, the Freddy Krueger, it's a little bit more difficult because there's a lot of things you wouldn't want to show because it would be very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that was the point I was going to bring up is, like, I don't know. I think with Michael Myers in that instance, it's kind of that. I think that the first Halloween is kind of set up to where they want you to feel some sort a kind of empathy for Michael, and maybe like you're trying to wrap your head around why he is the way he is. But how do you do that with Freddy Krueger?
But with Freddy Krueger, so I know in the first Nightmare on Elm Street, you just know, he was a bad guy who hurt kids, and so we killed him because he was a bad guy. And you're like,
right.
Oh, well, I already knew he was a bad guy because he's the evil person in everybody's dreams.
Right.
So, Halloween, you have empathy for Michael a little bit because it's like, oh, well, he just really had a bad go. But from this, it's like Freddy Krueger was an evil person when he was alive, and now he's even more evil and can get into people's dreams and fuck with people. So I just think it makes him that more of a terrible, scary character. And you could explore that with a reboot kind of showing him as an evil person alive and an even more evil person in his demon state.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm getting behind it.
It's
a little.
It's a difficult sell because it's Hollywood, so Hollywood's gonna make this PG-13 and try and get to the masses. But I think if you did this kind of a Wes Craven right, you could have a really, really good. Hills Have Eyes was rebooted, was awesome. And I think he had a pretty big hand in that, if I'm not mistaken.
That Hills Have Eyes remake is the reason that my wife won't go to movies, like creepier movies with us anymore.
Yeah.
Like that's the movie that she was like, "What the fuck is the matter with you?" Like she really started to question things after. She's like, "So what'd you think of the movie?" I'm like, "I thought it was okay." And she's like, "Really?"
Well, when the house lights came on and we're both giddily clapping and laughing. It's like, oh, God. But, yeah, so for my
What did I do?
So for my third round pick, I'm going to go with Nightmare on Elm Street.
I would say that out of so far that one I'm kind of on. Like, I don't know, but you gave it a hard sell. Okay, my fourth round pick. I'm going with an older movie. This came out in early 80s. It's just one movie. It's something that I could see. Definitely you could reboot it, but maybe you could carry it on and do a series with it. I don't know, but who knows? Time will tell. But in a world that Guardians of the Galaxy, that you do that and it works, you can totally make this work. Because in this movie had space. This movie had spaceships. This movie has lasers. This movie has the whole nine. For my fourth round pick, I'm going with the movie Flash Gordon.
Okay, yeah, this is another one I haven't seen.
Oh, the Queen did the entire soundtrack to this movie.
Nice.
And like you hear this, I don't remember what the main theme's like. Do 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 do. Flash, meow, meow, savior of the universe.
Didn't this come out about the same time as Masters of the Universe? Or was it a little bit before?
No, this was a decent chunk before. Master of the Universe, I want to say, was like
88 or 89, something like that.
late 80s. This I'm pretty sure this was early 80s. This was like 80, 82, maybe 83. But you had how are you gonna remake it?
Oh, yeah, so it's Flash Gordon. I've heard the name. I'm not super familiar with it. Similar to Guardians of the Galaxy. But how are you going to sell
Well,
that?
basically, Flash is a Flash Gordon is a quarterback for, I think, the New York Jets, and he's in the original movie. He's a quarterback for the New York Jets, and there's these weird, strange meteors falling from the sky, and something happens with the plane, and it crashes near the lab of this scientist who's building a rocket to go and figure out where the meteors are coming from, because the scientist is under the impression that these meteors, it's an attack, it's a deliberate attack, and so he's going to the source to try and reason with it or stop it. So, a fight ensues. Flash gets there. He sees what's going on. There's some weird shit going on. And so something happens where Flash gets on the rocket with the doctor and the love interest who's with him on the plane. Dale. Dale is her name. So there's Flash, Dale, and Dr. Zarkov. And they fly off in this rocket into they go through a wormhole into another galaxy that's ruled by the evil Emperor Ming.
Okay.
And there's all these different worlds and planets. There's a swamp world. There's the Hawkmen. There's a group of Hawkmen that live in this floating city. It's based off an old 1930s serial kind of series where it was this high science fiction, old school black and white kind of thing. It was actually one of the ideas, or it kind of laid the groundwork, I would say, for Star Wars, because George Lucas totally pulled a lot of the science fiction elements. He totally pulled from Flash Gordon, the lasers, the laser pistols and laser guns and stuff like that.
So I know what seemed like a big success of, because you said with Guardians of the Galaxy, that's kind of how you could sell this Flash Gordon. Guardian of the Galaxy was kind of a space, I almost call it like the Serenity type thing, like a space cowboy, group of misfits kind of thing. Is Flash Gordon that same idea, or is he more of a serious, do-gooder kind of guy?
I would say Flash Gordon is, if you took the setting of Guardians of the Galaxy, and instead of having this group of misfits, you have like a Captain America, kind of everyman hero, which is what Flash is. Flash in the original movie, like Flash is this, tall, blonde, Adonis looking, like basically the template that apparently all white men need to aspire to.
The He-Man of the group, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could dig. I dig that.
The guy that played Flash, appeared in, what movie was that? It was a comedy, that Ted movie.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that now. Because him and Ted were like big Flash fans. I remember that. You could get a cameo from him in the movie. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could dig that. I mean, it sounds, if they did it right, it seems like I'd go see it. And it sounds like
you just do it you wouldn't even need to do a whole movie. You could just do like a little, web series or just a little series, because originally that's what it was. It was, kind of like these little episodes that strung together into a big long story. These old black and white movie serials, which, like I said, was kind of a lot of the basis for Star Wars. Because you look at an old episode of Flash Gordon, it starts off with this crawl that, starts at the bottom and kind of crawls its way through to the, the crawl that you see at the opening of Star Wars. Totally an idea from Flash Gordon. breaking up breaking up things into episodes, calling it episode. You see, like you look at a old Flash Gordon thing, and it'll say like episode 9, the Frost Giants of Malzabar, or something like that. So yeah, my 4th round pick, Flash Gordon. Flash, he's a miracle. Wow, and you can even put in the Queen shit.
Yeah, if you own it, yeah, do it. All right, so for my 4th round pick, I've been holding on to this group of heroes again. This is kind of another group of people that started their origins in comics. It was a recent reboot, but I think they should scrap that, get rid of the producer, and start from scratch, and probably call me, and I could tell them how they need to do this, or at least have a better idea. What I think needs to be rebooted, and the big thing right now is universes. You got to have a universe to sell.
This is true.
I think we need to reboot the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and that is my 4th round pick.
I'm sorry to say, I actually did have this on my list, and
Nice.
there was a second where I thought about picking it, but I was like, you know what? I was like, I already took the one. I was like, I'll be like total dick. I was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna save that to my last one. If he gets to the last one and he hasn't, I was like, that's gonna be my 7 if he doesn't pick it.
I was thinking about holding that off to my 7th, but I had to get it out there just in case it got missed. You talk about. So I don't know who's fucking this series up, who's messing this franchise up, but the big thing right now
Michael
is,
Bay.
Yeah, Michael Bay. I'm here to talk about this TV. I gotta go. Michael Bay, everybody. So these aliens, no, they're turtles. No, they're aliens. Come to Earth, but they're not aliens. They're turtles. There's mutagen. There's no mutagen. All right, Michael Bay, everybody! Yay! Here, we'll
aliens.
We'll put that up on the fridge, Michael Bay.
Aliens.
But it's so frustrating because there is a comic coming out right now that Eastman is helping to do. That Nickelodeon owns the Turtles, and they have a comic book series out right now that is freaking amazing. It is really, really good. They have a cartoon that is on Nickelodeon that is really, really, really good.
Yeah.
And then they say, we're going to put these guys on the big screen, and they just miss.
Yeah.
Mentioning universes, you can have...
Missed hard, too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you talk about, you could have... I mean, could you imagine an awesome Casey Jones standalone movie? There's an independent one out there that is freaking awesome. Like, I would go see that. That's kind of a Punisher type movie.
I haven't seen it. Did you watch it?
Yeah, it's like 45 minutes. Maybe it's less than that. It's just like Casey Jones. I think it's like CaseyJones.com or Casey Jones the movie.
Is it just like him beating the shit out of people or what?
For the most part, Casey Jones the movie. He fights the purple dragons that are trying to fight or trying to take over his area. The only turtle in there is Michelangelo.
Okay.
It's actually voiced by the guy who did the Michelangelo voice in the movies. But, I mean, it was really, really good. You could have a movie of Casey Jones and not even have the Turtles involved much, if at all. You get yourself cast a good April O'Neil. You could explore all the universe that they have, with the Krang and all that stuff. Explore the origins of the Shredder. I mean, there's so much you could do with that. And I think the fans would eat it up since you want studios want a universe, and you have a universe idea.
Yes, they do.
And so basically, I just wanted to pick this so I could rant for 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah. You haven't. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm just gonna sit here and let you go because you haven't done this for a while. And it usually happens every couple months or so. It'll be okay.
It won't be okay. Well, I think the frustration is all the talk of Star Wars and everybody's all excited, and I feel like here I am just waiting on TMNT 2.
You know what I want? Here's what I want. I want them. Why can't we get another animated movie like we did with the last one?
Oh, I'd be for that. I mean, that last one was really good, But what I'd be scared
That
of is
last
that
one wasn't bad.
because you look at the cartoon they have right now, it is really, really good. It's, it's got a good origin story. It's, they pull characters from all over the place. You could find these little, there's story arcs from the original comics and the new comics that you could pull from. Like there's the City at War kind of storyline. There's so much you can do with that.
I'm just letting you go. It's okay.
So
you want a hug, huh? Is that what you want? You want to hug it out?
But I'm a TMNT like purist, not really a purist. I'm okay with fresh ideas because, like I've said before on the show, each of the origin stories is slightly tweaked. In the original comic, Hamada Yoshi, I believe, had the turtles, and they turned into humans, and he turned into a rat. In the original movies, Hamada Yoshi was the trainer that the rat was that owned the rat as a pet. In the new comic book series, they're reincarnated from ancient Japan, which is a freaking really cool idea. So I'm okay with changing the origin story up a little bit, but I guess from somebody like you who watched the Turtles, like the Turtles, what would you want from a reboot? What would you expect to see?
Honestly, like I said, like I've watched the cartoon and I've read a few of the comics, and I watched the animated movie with you, and the original or the first movies that came out in the 90s as well. Honestly, like just give me the turtles fighting a bunch of that's all we want to see is just turtles fighting ninjas.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what it is. It's a fucking it's a karate movie. That's what it needs to be. It needs to be a fucking karate movie. It's just turtles and ninjas. Like just give me Enter the Dragon with turtles and ninjas and I'm fine. I'll take all of that and more, please.
So that's what I'm going to go with for my 4th round pick. I'm going to go with the Turtles.
Yeah. Okay. All right. For my 4th round pick,
5th round,
I'm going to go with a movie that you have probably never heard of, and a movie that I'm probably going to have to explain to people because it's.
Please say striptease. Please say striptease.
No, it is not striptease. It is not striptease. I'm gonna go to IMDb for like a general description of the movie. The movie is this is a movie. Okay, it was a okay-ish concept. It was kind of cool. I get it, but you could do this now. Modern makeup and modern special effects, and you could just have it like Flash Gordon. You could have this crazy fucking insane movie with all this weird shit. The movie I am going with, it's called, people refer to it as Buckaroo Banzai. The full name of the movie that I would reboot, it's called The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. And this is a 1984 film.
Okay, I've heard of Buckaroo Banzai, but I'm not familiar with the movie.
Okay, so in the intro or the description they give you on IMDb, it's adventurer/surgeon/rock musician Buckaroo Banzai and his band of men, the Hong Kong Cavaliers, take on evil alien invaders from the 8th dimension. Like, just make a fucking campy, weird fucking movie. And it doesn't have, I don't even, honestly, if they remade that movie and it was totally unpopular and just kind of became like a cult classic kind of movie, I would still watch the fuck out of it and love it. And I'll give you an example of how it would, like, in a world where Evil Dead is on television, where we have an Evil Dead series, in a world where that has happened, there is totally room for a remake of fucking Buckaroo Banzai.
Yeah, so is it kind of a futuristic-esque?
It's kind of like a futuristic kind of thing. Like I said, there's aliens and, all that kind of weird stuff. It's honestly a very campy kind of 80s sci-fi movie.
Okay.
it's a movie that I would totally love to see get remade, and not even, and don't play it serious. Like, don't play it as a serious thing. Like, just make, like, even if they didn't play it as like this serious film and they just made it as like this campy fucking romp, I would still watch the fuck out of it, and I'd be like, this is awesome. Like, give me more of this campy, weird fucking sci-fi, and I'd gobble it the fuck up. So that would be my 5th round pick. I can't, like I said, I can't really go into it that much because then like I said, you're talking about aliens and you're talking about Buckaroo Banzai and the fact that he's kind of like this like super perfect guy that does everything, to the letter. But that's my 5th round pick, is The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai.
Okay. Well, for my 5th round pick, I'm going to go with a flick that is based off a video game. It's still, it's like in its like 6th or 7th movie now. I've watched bits and pieces of them, but kind of fallen off. And I think if they kind of went back to the beginning of it again, it could be a really cool. I think there's a lot of things they could explore more. It's kind of a zombie-esque, so I think it can definitely fit into what's big right now.
Okay.
I think what they should reboot for my 5th round pick is Resident Evil.
Ooh.
So, I mean, I love the movies that have come out.
Okay, I would say that if you're comparing the movies to the games, I would say that those are all, I mean, they're related in terms of characters. There's the same characters, but I would say that the story of the game and the story of the movie kind of went in weird directions.
Yeah, because the first one really doesn't follow the characters in the first game, but they're kind of, the characters are in the same scenario somewhat. But
so, well, I guess the reason I'm bringing it up is because I guess I'm saying that, would you reboot the series while keeping the other films there, or would you just be like, fuck that movies, fuck those movies, and fuck Mila Jovovich? No, none of that never ever happened. We're doing this now.
Yeah, I think that's how you have to do it. You say that's its own. It's almost like the Batman thing. Those are their own universe. This is our new universe. This is our new thing. Because it seems like the Umbrella Corporation is this weird company that's trying to build multiple Mila Jovoviches, the bitches, because she's very attractive and has very long nipples. So they want to make as many of her as they can.
Yeah.
It seemed like it teetered off in a real weird place early. Characters that were in the first 2 die all of a sudden in the 4th, and it's just all over the place. But I think exploring that whole Umbrella Corporation type idea, which I think that's what a lot of the games deal with, right? Like somebody trying to deal with the Umbrella Corporation.
What the games mainly deal with is the Umbrella Corporation has this shit going on, and the characters that you play in the game just end up kind of being caught up in it. They're caught. Usually, actually, what usually ends up happening is the Umbrella Corporation tries to do this, and then they try to play God, and obviously that fails, and then their creations get out and start killing people, and you're kind of caught in the middle.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's
so I guess would you put in those movies kind of in that respect, where they're they're just wrong place, wrong time, and then all the shit's going on, and then they start slowly learning, oh, it's because of this crazy, weird, evil corporation.
I think so, because right now, because it seems like the games you play different characters, but the Umbrella Corporation is always the umbrella of the story, the thing that's causing all the pain. But right now, they really wanted kind of a face of the franchise, so that's why they have their character, who's in all 8 or 9 of them, however many there are. But like what you're saying,
I mean, honestly, I thought that in terms of actual story, I thought the games, and they have, God, how many do they have now? 6? Yes, 6. I think they've stopped at 6. Well, I'm counting the ones that are actually numbered. because there's Resident Evil and then Resident Evil 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But then there's also Resident Evil 0. There's Resident Evil, I think there's another one called like Revelation. Like there's ones that are like Resident Evil and then they have like a name. Like Project Veronica and stuff like that. Or Code Veronica or something like that. But those games, to me, the story seems a lot more cohesive than the movies that came after them, which I never really understood because I'm like, why don't just you have all this lore and story to draw on, why not use that? It seems like they tried to kind of like the movies kind of had their own continuity to it, but they were still pulling stuff from the games, and I don't know. I'm like, I felt like they were overcomplicating it.
Yeah. Well, I think what you could do, so if you want to do somewhat like the games, because it seems like you probably had different people leading and writing each of the movies, so there's kind of a general idea, but it's, each person kind of tried to do their own thing with it. But if you basically set it up, it's like, okay, there's this evil umbrella corporation. Here's the character you get to use for this movie. Go crazy. And so then you have each movie just be something different. They have very loose tie-ins together, but they're all their own pretty much individual, one-offs.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, well, this is an up and coming director. Let's give him the run. See what he can do. Oh, that wasn't so great. Okay, well, let's give this to this other person, and they can do their own different story. Here's your parameters. Go.
Yeah, I
think it could be a fun idea. Yeah, I think it could be a fun idea. So for a reboot, and it's almost done with its first run, so it'll be primed and ready for it. I'm going to go with Resident Evil.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite series of games. I think I've played 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I haven't messed with 6, but 1 through 5. I mean, I thought they were solid. Okay. Speaking of 6, we're on to my 6th round pick. Okay, this is a movie that I loved. I love this movie, and I don't want to reboot it. I don't want to reboot the actual film. What I want is a continuation. I want a sequel, but this movie was so long ago, and there's so much new material that I feel like you could totally that of course you can touch on. But my stipulation with this is you have to have the original creator of this movie. You have to have him at the helm, because it wouldn't be the movie I want unless you have him running it. For my 6th round pick, the movie I want to see, the franchise I want to see, the film I want to see turn into a franchise is a satire on a favorite series of movies of mine. I want to see Spaceballs.
Oh, on my list, sir.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I had this exact same thoughts. It was they teased the second one in that movie.
Spaceballs 2: The Quest for More Money.
Yeah, merchandising. Yeah, you have to have Brooks run that. I think you could do a second one. You have all the people age or whatever. John Candy's not alive, but he would have been perfect, to play that again.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Pullman's still around. You throw Bill Pullman in there. I don't remember off the top of my head who plays the princess.
I can't remember.
Joan Rivers isn't alive, but she's a robot, so you could just have an updated model.
Yeah.
I was waiting for, when they came out with the prequel movies, I was waiting for the next Spaceballs. They came out with those prequel movies. This, it started in 97. I'm like, okay, where's the next fucking Spaceballs movie? Like, come on, Mel, get it together.
Well, I know I don't know if you've ever heard this story, but the reason he got Spaceballs made or was able to is he talked with Lucas about it to basically get whatever he needed to do it. And Lucas said, yeah, you can do that as long as you don't merchandise anything. So as long as you don't sell action figures, you can do this movie.
So you're thinking that's why nobody will pick it up?
Maybe. I mean, that might be one of the reasons. Or maybe Mel Brooks just wants to leave it as its own thing. I mean, Mel Brooks is really good about, teasing sequels. I mean, there was History of the World Part 1.
Yeah, he said people constantly still ask him about history of the world. They're like, when's History of the World Part 2? He's like, it was a joke. It was a fucking joke. That was the joke.
Jews in space. Mel Brooks is if you could say there's
that guy's
a
still a
comedic.
fucking genius.
Oh yeah, I think doesn't he have like lunch or breakfast with somebody once a week still, like some other famous.
I think he's like him and Carl Reiner, which I mean, Carl Reiner. Of course, you have the Princess Bride, which should never be remade. Don't you touch the Princess Bride?
My sixth round pick. So that's funny because I had this on my list, but I was worried you'd be like, no, that cannot be rebooted. You cannot reboot
No,
Spaceballs.
you could totally. Like I said, I was sitting around waiting. Once the prequel movies came out, I was like, where's my Spaceballs? I want to see a Spaceballs movie. I want to see Mel Brooks do a satirical take on fucking Jar Jar Binks. I want him to say what we're all thinking. And it never happened. And now you have episode 7. Like, come on. Where is fucking I want it. I want it so bad.
I'd imagine it's probably the reason you don't see anything like that. He may not own the rights anymore, and it's probably one of those really, really hard things to make, especially now that Disney owns it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's fucking Mel Brooks. You don't think Mel Brooks has some pull? Like, he's got to.
Maybe. He hasn't done anything recently, though. So
No, I can't think of anything he's done recently.
He's probably done. He's like, I'm just going to relax. I'm not doing this stuff anymore.
Right? He's got his son. He's like, my son's writing kick-ass books.
That are turning into okay movies, not based on the book at all.
Right.
No, I like that pick. That was actually going to be my next pick.
Was that going to be your next one?
Yeah, I think so. I was kind of holding off on it because I didn't want to have a big argument. Because I thought you would ridicule me for having that on there.
No. Oh, I own it. Who doesn't? Oh, I love that movie. And you could totally do it now because you've got so much. You've got twice as much material to pull on now, and so much of it is just. I mean, it's almost like they're just baiting it with satire. I mean, you take those prequel movies, come on, why have we not seen a satirical take on those on the prequels in general?
Well, again, I think it's got to be that mouse. That mouse is keeping that stuff from getting out.
Oh. So yeah, my 6th round pick, a movie that I need to see. That's the movie that we deserve as human beings. We deserve Spaceballs. The Search for More Money.
Richard, I am your father's cousin's brother's second roommate. What does that make us? Absolutely nothing.
I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
Love that movie. All right. So my 6th round pick, I've got a bunch on my plate. I'm not sure which one I wanted, so I went ahead with this one because again, I think this you could. I never understand why nobody has done like a James Bond with a character. Nobody has taken that like James Bond. Each movie is an individual thing. You know, you can have different characters play this all the time and it works.
Okay.
And years ago, Samuel L. Jackson was in this movie. Actually, years ago. They made this movie, and this was going to be the American James Bond. And they tried a second one of these, and it didn't work out very well. And they changed the lead character. I think I heard recently they're going to come out with a third with the original. But I'm going to go with the Vin Diesel classic that needs to be rebooted. I'm going to go with Triple X.
I mean, really?
Yeah.
I wasn't like totally sold on the originals.
Oh, I dug it. It was good. I mean, it was kind of campy.
I'm just saying you're gonna have to sell me on Triple X to say this is why we need more Triple X. Would you have Vin Diesel in it?
Oh, I mean, the dude's got the highest grossing movie of all time right now, doesn't he? Wasn't Fast 7 like the highest one ever?
Yeah, you had Fast 7, but he went from that to it's nothing against Vin Diesel. I like Vin Diesel. I haven't seen the last movie he came out with, the Last Witch Hunter. I haven't seen it, but Vin Diesel, I'm all for Vin Diesel. He's a huge gamer. He's a big D&D nerd.
That's why he made the Last Witch Hunter.
Yeah, he's a big D&D nerd. He actually wrote they released a 25th anniversary edition of the Player's Handbook for Dungeons and Dragons, and it was 3rd edition, but they did a 25th like anniversary kind of edition of the book, and he wrote the foreword in the book. I thought that was a little interesting little tidbit of trivia. But yeah, he wrote the foreword in the book and talked about, how much he loved playing the game and how he still loves playing the game. There was a video that I saw recently, a YouTube video where he's, hanging out with like, 4 or 5 different people, and they play D&D, and like you could see like his face like lights up, like he loved it. So I mean, I have nothing against Vin Diesel. I'm just saying that I wasn't big on these movies.
Well, you have to tweak it for now, because when it came out, like the motocross, the X Games stuff was huge. Like it was getting pretty popular.
Sure.
And that's his character, is just this like YouTube sensation, X Games kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean,
so I don't know if you could tweak it or not, but it's the idea of you just find just some guy who isn't a secret agent and you make him into a secret agent. The whole idea of they get this group of 10 guys and drop them into this real life situation, where they're actually in a drug cartel and they have to figure out how to get away. I think you could.
So you would just scrap and start all over.
I think so, unless you can get because they had that Triple X, and then I think they had one with Ice Cube. It was like Triple X of the Union or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I didn't see and never heard anything really good about. But supposedly there's going to be a new Triple X with Vin Diesel coming out. Like he tweeted a picture of it. If you can make that work, then yeah, keep going with that, because it's a new age James Bond. It's it's a guy who's thrown in different situations and has gadgets and does all this cool stuff.
Yeah, all right.
I'm not saying it's going to be the greatest thing ever. It's probably not going to be as good as James Bond. But if you give me a cool story every 2 or 3 years with this guy called Triple X, why not? It's James Bond is the code name. Triple X is the code name.
I gotta say, like I did like that Kingsman movie. That one was really good.
I didn't see that, but is that kind of the similar idea?
Well, I mean, kind of in the sense that like you have these kind of spy characters with these, super gadgets and stuff like that. And I'll tell you, that Kingsman movie, a lot bloodier than I thought it was, way bloodier than I thought it was going to be, and a lot more graphic than I thought it was going to be. I mean, that movie really surprised me. Samuel L. Jackson was in that too, actually, in Kingsman. He's the antagonist.
He had a lisp in that, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
But so for my 6th round pick, kind of a stretch maybe, but I'm going to go with the movie Triple X.
Brings us to the end. My 7th round pick. I have 2 left on my list. I'm kind of teetering between the 2. I'm going to go with a character that I really like the comic. I own the comic. And it is a comic book character. It was a very dark comic where there was some evil stuff going on. You're talking about like the war of heaven and hell, and people coming back from the dead and demons and things like that. But then you also have, I would say it's basically the Punisher meets it's kind of, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, go full circle, I would say it's kind of like The Crow. It's kind of like a revenge story, but then it's also kind of an anti-hero story. For my 7th round pick, it was made into a movie, and it was not that great a movie. Not that great a movie at all. For my 7th round pick, I am going with the character Todd McFarlane's Spawn.
Ooh, that movie it wasn't great, but it was dark and kind of cool. I could see a really cool Spawn movie.
Couldn't you? Like,
yeah.
they had HBO did an animated Spawn series for a while, and it was popular. Like, not only was it good, it was drawn well and stuff like that, but it was popular. I had friends that talked about that Spawn series and thought it was great. And like I said, I loved the comic. I have a signed Spawn #1 by Todd McFarlane. I met him at a Chicago Comic-Con.
Is the issue with Spawn is that like you'd have to make it rated R because it's dark.
Oh yeah, you definitely have to make it rated R.
And it's super freaking expensive to make. Is that the issues with it, you think?
I think that would probably be the issue with it. Yeah, that's kind of has to be, I would say that'd have to be a very hefty budget to make that stuff look good. Because you're talking about a guy with like, he almost has this, his cape kind of almost has like sentient thought, like it moves and whips around. And then, like I said, you had, the Violator, which was, basically a demon. So you'd have to CGI the fuck out of that. You have to CGI the fuck out of his cape. You have these, glowing green eyes. And I mean, it would be a task to do a Spawn movie and have it look well.
And does anybody specifically own Spawn? Do you know?
Well, it was done by Image Comics. I mean, as far as I know, Todd McFarlane's like has really, Todd McFarlane has control over it. As far as I know.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say the only thing that could
totally sure.
The only thing that could really help that get out is you've got a rated R superhero movie with Deadpool coming out. So if that's good, and you have Doctor Strange coming out, which is kind of a darker kind of comic book type movie, not really darker, but more supernatural.
Yeah,
if you get those two to do well, you can sell like, hey, I've got this rated R dark, supernatural movie, Spawn.
Yeah,
let's do this. We've seen two things that work.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking. Okay, I mean, if we're talking about Deadpool, I mean, Deadpool, yes, is rated R. Deadpool's kind of rated R, kind of be not mainly because of the dialogue.
Oh, the violence. I mean, you can already tell.
And,
that's super,
the dialogue
super
and the violence. And Spawn, I think, would be rated R, maybe because of the violence and just the theme of it, the thematic elements of it. Because like I said, it'd have to be a super dark movie. Because in the comic, you have the Violator, who's a demon from hell, and then you have at one point he goes after this ice cream man that's like killing kids, and I mean it's like I said, like it gets dark. So I mean it's a tough sell, but I think if it's done well, it would look really, really fucking cool.
Okay, I could dig it. All right. So my 7th round. Do you have anything else you want to add on Spawn?
No. I'm good. I'm waiting to hear yours. How are you closing this out?
This, I mean, you threw a couple things out there that I would have thought you would say no, never in a million years, and this one you may. This is, it's one of the most iconic movies out there, so that would be the toughest thing. But I think this day and age with the technology, and I've seen a movie that does something with these animals to make it look very, very real. You could creep a lot of people and scare a lot of people from going back in the ocean. I'm going to do it. For my 7th round pick, I'm going to say they need to reboot the classic Steven Spielberg. I'm going to say Jaws.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's so many shark movies that are basically trying to reboot Jaws. If you just did it and did it right with the right amount of money and the right people in it, you put it in today's age, you can make such a good creepy movie. I mean, I told you about that one. I can't remember what it was called. It was called The Reef, maybe. That Australian movie where there's a great white hunting down these people in the water. You put that like in real, or maybe even base it closer to the book that this is based off of. Could you imagine showing these kids swimming in this creek, thinking they're safe, and all of a sudden they're getting attacked by a shark in fresh water, a freshwater, water creek, whatever.
Okay, here's my thing. Here's my hang up when it comes to Jaws. Okay, in the original movie, I think one of the things that they had that they spent all the money on that big animatronic shark, and it didn't work. And so there were a lot of moments where you don't see the shark. You don't see where it's going. You don't see what it's doing. All you see is people getting pulled under, and then they come out missing half a face or whatever.
Yeah.
To me, I think that not seeing added something that I think that would be lost today. Because if you remade Jaws today, you would CGI the fuck out of this giant great white shark. And for me, seeing the shark do all this shit almost would take a lot of the creepiness away. Because look at the first 5 minutes of Jaws. You don't even see the shark. You see, lady swimming out in the water and everything's all hunky-dory, and all of a sudden she gets kind of pulled under a little bit and then comes up scared absolutely shitless, and then down she goes.
Well, you would do the same thing, because that movie I saw called The Reef, you see the shark a little bit, but it's quick bursts that, basically real life scenario. When a great white shark or, a shark attacks, it's not, oh, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. It's, what the hell? What is that? Poof, out of the water, quick attack. You see a little bit of it and it's gone.
See, but I think if they remade it, I don't think they would show that kind of restraint.
Maybe.
To where they would not show the shark. I think they would be like, we have to show the shark do everything, and we got to see all of these fucking kills, and, we have to see the shark biting a chunk out of, Surfer Dan.
Have him coming out of the water with a chainsaw. Get back here, you douchebags!
Yeah.
I say we let him go.
And then you would have the camera would go on. The camera would go underwater, and then you would see the shark eating the fuck out of people. And while it would probably look kind of cool, I don't know if it would instill that it would be that scary anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think you'd have to do it in the same respect as they did the other one with you don't see a ton of the shark. I mean, that's the only way you could keep it scary.
That I totally agree. I'll give you an example. In the original black and white Frankenstein movie, there is a scene where the monster is walking along the side of a lake, and there's a little girl that's picking flower petals off and throwing them in the lake. So then Frankenstein comes up and sees what she's doing, and so then he picks up a flower and he starts picking flower petals off and throwing the petals in the lake. And then so they're doing that, and they're having a grand time or whatever, and then he runs out of flower petals. And so he looks and he's kind of confused. He doesn't know what to do. So then you see him pick the little girl up, and then after that happens, it fades to black. And then it fades back in, and you see, this father carrying the dead girl in his arms. Now, we don't see what happens. We don't see the monster doing anything to this little girl. But what you imagine happens, or the visual of what you think happened, is way, way creepier and darker than anything they could have showed me on that screen.
Yeah. It's always, whenever you hide that stuff, it's always far worse and far scarier than what they would have actually shown.
Yeah, it's like the 10 things that I'm thinking about what happened in my head is gonna be way worse than anything they actually show me. So I mean, when it comes to something like Jaws, I don't think that a studio or a director would be able to show the restraint to be like, let's not show the shark that much.
Yeah. Well, I know that's a tough sell, Jaws, but it's one of those just kind of seeing it, because every movie that's about sharks seems like they try to do that whole Jaws idea. So why not put that universe out there for you and try to
Kevin Smith's doing it with a moose.
That's true. I'm pretty excited about that. That is my reboot. Maybe is that Moose Jaws. He's already kind of announced it, but apparently Silent Bob is going to die in that.
Really?
Yeah. I heard
he was going to be in it as Silent Bob. I didn't know he was going to have him die in it.
Yeah, he talked to Jason Mewes, and he's like, well, I think one of the two have to die. And Jason's like, please don't kill me, because then I won't have a character to ever play again. But what I hope happens is, because he's doing other movies, and I hope, whatever movie comes after Moose Jaws, like you see Jason Mewes kind of like wear maybe like a Rest in Peace Silent Bob shirt, and then all of a sudden like Kenny, Silent Bob just appears. Or maybe Alanis Morissette comes out as like God and like, touches something and Silent Bob is created.
Oh, and then Silent Bob comes back.
On the 8th day, God created Silent Bob. If you hear this, Kevin Smith, I want a credit.
Yeah, you should tweet that.
All right. Well, I will. The only other 3 I had on my list, I had Blade.
I had Blade as well. That's the only other one I had on my list. Because when you were talking about the Punisher, that's who I thought you were. Okay. I thought you were going to go to Blade.
I thought about it pretty hard, but I did the Punisher. It's already kind of a comic booky thing. I had Lost Boys.
Ooh,
that's kind of one of those. It's like it's very much the time period, so it could be difficult, but it's.
That movie's so good though.
I think you could do something with it. And the other one, I don't even know if you've ever seen this movie. But I thought a remake or a reboot of Bloodsport, the Claude Van Damme movie, would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I haven't. No, I gotta say that I've never delved into Bloodsport.
I guess it's like a true story about a guy.
It's just basically Jean-Claude doing the splits all the time.
Pretty
right?
much, yeah.
Okay.
Well, he like goes overseas to this like underground karate tournament, and it's basically, I think it's like a true story. It's the first American to win this tournament. It's kind of like semi-illegal or something. But just something I thought would be kind of interesting in this time period. But I will go ahead and run through our movie reboot draft real quick. So with Richard, his first pick, he has a steal of The Crow. Second pick, you have The Prophecy. Third pick, Tomb Raider. Fourth pick, Flash Gordon. Fifth pick, Buckaroo Banzai. Sixth pick, another steal was Spaceballs. And the seventh pick, Richard had Spawn. And for my reboot draft, for my first pick, I had Romero of the Dead. Second pick, The Punisher. Third pick, Nightmare on Elm Street. Fourth pick, The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Fifth pick, Resident Evil. Sixth pick, Triple X. And my seventh pick, I had Jaws.
Yeah, I forgot to mention. I said it before, but I did have Ninja Turtles on my list.
Ah, yeah. So I got a steal from you.
I feel like that should be a. I think I just put that on there as my dick move. Be like, oh, I'll save that just in case I hadn't done it yet.
All right. Well, I guess. Do you want to throw any Richard's closing thoughts out?
Movies are hard to make, and people say it's a miracle that anything gets made. And yes, we live in a world where, a lot of things are getting remade and rebooted, and everybody's saying, where's the original ideas? Where's the original ideas? And I think we've just listed 14 different films where, yes, it's a reboot, but it's something, a lot of these are things that you could totally take an entirely different spin on. You could create original ideas and put them in these beloved properties, and they could totally work. So just because it's not an original idea doesn't mean it's not a bad idea. There we go.
Well, I will do a little bit of housekeeping.
You do that. You do that housekeeping.
Visit our website.
It'll make you work.
Visit our website. We're at languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter at languageofbro. Email us, eatthebeaver at languageofbromance.com. Like us on Facebook and subscribe and leave a review on iTunes and Stitcher.
And don't forget to check us out on the Pod Bros Network,
the podcast site on the internet with no rebooted podcast, because everyone out there is original and amazing.
Oh.
And if you're in the need for some headbuds, go to tweakedaudio.com. Use the promo code LBARMY and you'll get 33% off.
And we will credit you as an original thinker.
All right. Was there anything else before I close her out?
No. I'm tapped out.
Well, that's all the bromance we have for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
And I say we eat the beaver.